right, so we're going to be doing this for the YouTube recording, Chad. This is the top 16 of the Hiroshima EB03 Championship. There's 5 red-blue ace, 4 emus, 3 green Zoros, 2 red-black Sabos, 1 Roger, and 1 Bonney. Be interesting to see what they stream in there. No Vivi, unfortunately. We still have plenty of weeks before Vivi can make the top 16. Listen, if you're itching for a brand new playmat, now is the time to check out Nengarden, the sponsor of this video. Not only do they have brand new pre-orders up on their website for Chaos Crew, Green Fury, and the Absolute Ruler designs, which by the way, are phenomenal. But if you're a fan of Goldie Roger, Nengarden actually put out a new playmat called the Journey's End, showcasing Goldie Roger himself, and you yourself can find his one piece with the possibility of a 1 in 20 chance to get the special wanted playmat. And on top of that, if you're like me and you absolutely prefer cloth mats, Nengarden has officially posted on their site cloth mats for Green Fury, Absolute Ruler, Berserk, and Journey's End. Plus, if you want a ton of other great accessories that aren't just playmats, they've got the King of Hearts t-shirt, matching pin, other pins alongside of it through the whole cake island, and even stickers. Make sure with whatever you want in Nengarden, use my code Atrocious for 8% off. The link to their website is in the description below. Thank you so much for Nengarden for sponsoring the video, and let's get back to that video. All right, chat, we've got our match. At least one of the players is going to be playing Ace. You've heard about Ace before, right? One of the best decks in this format, being able not only to draw extra cards if characters or takes damage right on your life, but on top of that, on opponent's turn, being able to minus 2,000 power by pitching any card from your hand is definitely very, very nice. One of the reasons it's in the top. And we're going to be seeing the yellow Bonney player, right? The lone yellow Bonney player in the top 16, right? Once per turn, anytime that you play a trigger character on the field, you're going to be able to slew together 2 Dawn rested onto a leader or character. A lot of people excited, especially in chat right now if you're watching this live, of the Nami deck. I'm excited to see this too. I know Nami or Bonney got a little bit of extra stuff right in EB03. I think got the 5-cost Nami, which could be very, very good. You also got the Robin potentially that I would assume that some of them play. I'm going to also pull up Cardi Kaizoku's website because there's no Bonney lists from EB03. And it looks like the Bonney is going first. Players determining whether they want to mulligan or keep the hand. Chad, do you think Bonney wants to go first or second in this matchup? Let me know as well if you're watching the video or the VOD in the comments what you think you prefer. I have not done much testing of Bonney myself in this deck. I know generally how this deck is built, right? A lot of different trigger bodies that you love to play, right? Stussy blocker, also a pretty good card in this deck, being able to play out another body, right? Swarm the field. It kind of feels like in some of the games that I've watched like an aggressive deck. You think you take second from Ace. I don't know who won the rock, paper, scissors, but Bonney is going first. We see a 0-cost event in the hand. You're the one that should disappear. Some new EB03 stuff in that Snake. We also got the Peach Momoko Stussy in the hand. Is that a 5-cost Zoro in the hand? That is also a 5-cost vanilla Zoro in the hand. And the Ace right here, the Ace got a couple 1-drops in the Vista, a card that we've seen on and off in the Ace decks, as well as the 1-cost Garp and Otama, as well as some removal potential in the Jozu and Red Rock. The Jozu might be pretty good within this game. But here we go, chat. Starting it off, going on the 1 Dawn turn for the Bonney. What do they have to start? It looks like it's the Lilith. So that Lilith, a great 1-drop searcher, right? Looks at the top 4 for any trigger card. You can put it in your hand, especially for a deck that revolves all around triggers. It's good to see that one. Finds an Okiku. So the Kiku might be really nice to be able to play in the future turns, right? Maybe to start off your 5 Dawn curve. Very sticky body that if it gets KO'd, you get to heal the life. The Ace starting out with the Garp is going to be able, because he is an Ace, Sabo, or Luffy leader. Look at that top 4. Find a 3-cost or higher plenty of options within this deck. We see 2 blocker Newgates in that search, so going to be grabbing one of them, probably going to be a very important card within this matchup, and especially seeing multiple on the first search, right? You definitely want to grab one of them. You want to make sure that you have access to at least 1 or 2 within this game. So attaching the 1 Dawn to his leader so then he can use his leader effect potentially. Bonney is just going to attach all 3 Dawn and swing 8, and with that swing is going to go ahead, take that life, and with that Dawn ×1 that he attached at the end of his 2 Dawn turn, because he took damage, he's going to draw another card for the life. We see a Yamato and an Izo come in the hand, so that's going to be very nice, right? Izo going to be able to search a little bit more in the deck, try to find some stuff. You didn't find a Marco to play on your 4 Dawn turn, but could be able to find some good stuff anyways, but plays the Garp first. In this Garp, finds a couple different bodies, right? You can grab any of these different cards, I believe, and ends up picking a 2K Jozu. We saw the OP08 Taxbeard in there, so playing at least one of those in the list, and digging another 5 with this Izo Searcher. This Izo, looking for the Whitebeard Pirates, is going to be bottom decking a Roger, but finds an 8-cost I Am Whitebeard event, right? Part of what makes this deck tick. And now going ahead and swinging 7,000 power with Ace. Bonney's going to take this first life. Is it going to be a trigger? Not one that they want to play. Definitely want to keep that Capone Beige in hand, and Ace ending off the turn with a 1-cost Vista blocker. Bonney now going to the 5 Dawn turn. We see at least one option in the hand with the Zoro on 5, but the Kiku might be a little bit better, right? One thing that you do have to think about, though, as the Bonney, right, some Ace players are playing something like Atmos, which would be able to remove this Kiku off the field, but a 5-cost would get Jozu off the field. So because Bonney played a character with a trigger on it, it's going to get 2 rested Dawn to a leader or character, opting for lead and attaching 1 more Dawn to swing 8 at Ace. 8 is a great number to be able to swing at Ace, where for many decks facing up against Ace, right? Because as a 6,000 power leader, it's going to force 2 cards out of hand from the Ace player, right? 1 for potentially your leader effect, and then another 1K counter to be able to go up to 7 against your 6 in this point. So doing exactly that is going to pitch the Red Rock for the leader effect to minus 2,000 power for the battle on that Bonney, and then a 1K Yamato to be able to get out of that swing. Did not want to go to 1 early at this point. Finds another I Am Whitebeard event, so if he can find another Whitebeard 10-drop to chain, that'll be very nice in the future of this game. But starting out with a 6K swing, right, especially one of the benefits of a 6K leader is you're always netting 1 card out of your opponent's hand to be able to get out of swings, and Bonney will take that, go down to 3 life. Is going to be a trigger, is going to be a Lilith, and that Lilith with the trigger to activate its on play effect is going to be able to look at that top 4 cards for a trigger card. Finds a couple options, finds a Beige 2K, also another vanilla Zoro, ends up going with that Beige 2K. I do like that option. I think that's probably the best one that you got at this point. And now with all 6 of the Dawn, playing out this Jozu, picking up the Garp, and getting this Kiku off the field. Definitely a strong play, and probably a strong body for the Ace for the rest of this game. Now the Bonney, though, going to 7. We know that that Stussy blocker is in the hand. I think we saw off the draw. Is that a Boa Hancock from PRB02? Potentially at the very end of their hand. It's an alternate art, so a little bit harder. It is the Boa Hancock from PRB02. Definitely a cool card to have to try to force the opponent not to be able to attack with their leader, right? Kind of stall out a leader swing, 1 less swing you have to worry about in a turn. And with that 7 is going to be playing that Stussy blocker, right? Going to be able to play out a 5-cost character with a trigger or less, and is going to get that Boa Hancock. The Boa Hancock, with that text, you can trash a card with trigger from your hand, passing up on that Kiku Nojo, right? A brick, and one of your rested leaders or up to one of your opponent's characters other than a Luffy cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next end phase. So, does not keep this Ace rested, though. So, is going to be able to restand, cannot chain these for multiple turns in a row. And because the Boa was played down off the Stussy, that is going to activate your leader effect as the Bonney. So 2 Dawn attached to the Bonney and now swinging 7,000 power at lead. Could just be a 2K out of this, right? But is just going to use leader effect to pitch the Garp in minus 2,000. Does not want to give a 2K in that point. And that's a good play that you can make as in Ace, right? It's essentially the same amount of counter, but not giving up as much counter in your hand, pitching the 1K instead of the 2. So on the 8 Dawn turn, now playing the I Am Whitebeard Vent, is going to get that blocker Whitebeard out. The blocker Whitebeard going to be able to draw 2 cards, trash 1, right? Filter the hand a little bit of some of the bricks and try to find another key piece. Ends up finding the 9-drop Newgate that gives your leader power and ends up pitching the Yamato instead of the Marco. So interesting pitch right there. And then gives 2 Rested Dawn to pull the leader and character. So giving 2 to Ace because that's part of the Newgate effect. Can't swing with it, but the 2/2 Jozu is now going to be a 9,000 power swing. The Stussy is a 7,000 power blocker, but the Bonney takes it, taking the first 3 swings of the game, it feels like, and it's a potential trigger. So we don't know exactly what this trigger is going to be, but could be a nice play right here to be able to utilize. Definitely not a Beige, right? Because if it was a Beige, you just put it in hand. Could be like a KO trigger potentially. Looks like it's going to be an Otama from PRBO2. So the Otama, for anyone who does not know, has that trigger rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 4 or less. So ends up resting that Vista blocker, is going to be able to continuously swing at face or maybe at this Jozu. That's 1 less blocker that you have to worry about. The Bonney is going to end up going and KOing that Vista, right? Just utilizing that Lilith swing to get it off the field, right? You don't want it to restand, and he's probably not going to give anything up for it anyway. So that Lilith being a good body to utilize in that situation, even if it gets KO'd by the Garp 1-drop searcher on the Ace's side in the next turn. Could go ahead with the on play of the S Snake, maybe play that out on the field. We saw that in the hand, but first swinging 8,000 power with the Boa, right? Because Boa not having an encounter on it, a 5/7 stat line is going to go ahead with that 8,000 power swing once again. Either prompt the block or force 2 cards out of hand. And I think just going with the free block at this point with the Newgate, does not want to give up anything in this hand right now. Is going to go ahead and attach 1 and be aggressive with the Stussy. So now swinging with this Stussy at this point, which I believe is 8,000 power, right? Ace is going to go down to 1 life, and now off of that life is going to go ahead, draw 1 card, finds 2 bricks in the hand. So building up the bricks in the hand, has a couple 2Ks in Jozu and Otama, but is lacking a little bit of counter. And now the S-Snake right here is going to be able to put the Zoro in life, right? Because on play, if your leader is the Egghead type and you have 2 or more life cards, you may add 1 character with a trigger from your hand to the top of your life cards face up. Since Bonney was at 2 life, was able to add that Zoro into the trigger. And with the leader effect of the Bonney, because you played a trigger card on the field, grab the Dawn, add the last one active, and swing 8 to get out of here. So Ace, utilizing Izo's effect to draw 1 and bottom deck 1, is going to go ahead, use leader effect with the Marco, pitch the Jozu as well, and pass off the turn. The Zoro, by the way, for anyone who does not know, that trigger does have a trigger on it. If your leader is the Egghead type, you can rest up to one of your opponent's leaders or character cards. So this is a fascinating card within this deck, right? Especially because you can so easily put this in life. Now you put Ace in this situation to where, like, okay, if you swing with your leader or the Jozu first, I'm going to rest something on your field, and that more than likely could be the Edward Newgate, right? The 10-drop Edward Newgate, because it doesn't have any cost condition or anything like that. It is just any character or leader on the field. Definitely a super interesting scenario for this Ace player, and the Bonney really having an interesting spot as well. So the ace player probably going to play the I Am Whitebeard event, right? Maybe playing down another one of these 10 costs. Would be able to attach the Dawn, spread it out a little bit, but kind of the lack of counter, I will say, in this hand. Does have 2 2Ks and 1 1K, right? So not a terrible hand, but Bonney not thinking about dying anytime soon at this point. The Bonney going 7-2, just making it within the top 16 of this tournament. The ace going undefeated in Swiss, the #1 seed. And so ends up swinging the Edward Newgate at the Stussy. So ends up getting that. May just try to focus on clearing board entirely at this point, right? Maybe doesn't want to deal with the trigger right now, but definitely love getting that blocker out of the way, right? Allow you in the coming turns to be able to swing freely at life, but just hard plays the Edward Newgate. So did not use the 8 cost event, right, that we know was in his hand, and ends up pitching an Edward Weevil. This ace playing the 4-drop Edward Weevil from EB01. That's an interesting card that we don't see too often, right? Probably more likely than not for that on-play effect of drawing 1 card. Is going to give 2 Dawn, rested Dawn to the leader and Jozu. And now the Jozu going ahead, clearing that Boa. And now the ace. Got to think about where you want to swing. It feels kind of bad to swing into this Lilith right here, but I think this is what you'll see a lot of players do against stuff like Bonney, is get to this point where you try to starve them in a sense, right? Try to remove everything off the field, so then you're only worried about 1-2 swings per turn. And especially with the Goldie Roger in the hand for the ace, could be a tricky situation if Bonney puts him down to 0 in this turn. We do see a 9-drop Bonney in the hand right now that the yellow Bonney is at a full 10 Dawn turn. The Bonney would be able to get him to 0, right, because of that on-play effect, the 9-drop. But would you be able to push for game at that point? So is going to end up playing that Bonney. And so if your leader is the Ega type, this character gains Rush. Then your opponent adds 1 life card from the top of their life to their hand. So now ace going down to 0 because you played a trigger character, attaching the 2 Dawn onto the Bonney, not the S-Snake, and goes ahead and swings 8,000 power. If I had to take a guess, he probably won't turn his cards sideways on this turn. He probably won't try to swing with this S-Snake. Just passes off the turn right there. I think you're still not really worried as Bonney about dying on this turn, right? Especially because you have that 5-drop Zoro in the life, right? Is going to be able to rest one of these aggressive characters on the field. And you have several bits of counter in hand, right? You got the 0 cost event. You got a couple 2Ks event. S-Snake having a 1K counter as well. Probably just going to see how this Bonney player reacts, right, with this first 7,000 power swing. No blockers on the field, so don't really have to worry about Roger. And so now going to use that trigger to be able to rest one of the Newgates. Still has 1 to go, and still another could come out onto the field. So ace now got to think about what you want to do. Blaze Split is a very interesting card to see from the Bonney. That's one of the alternate arts in hand. But just hard plays another Edward Newgate blocker, is just going to go the slow route, I think. Just try to draw cards. Finds a little bit more counter, a 2K, 1K in the Thatch and the Yamato. You'll love to see that if you're the ace. And now getting the 2 rested Dawn. Going to put it on ace and the Garp. Not going to be swinging with the Garp, right? Because it's only a 4,000 power character with the 2 Dawn. But putting on the pressure now. Swinging 8,000 at life, is going to be asking for a couple cards in hand or another life. So ace having 7 cards in hand, still a pretty substantial hand size, right? Because one of them could just be a regular brick to minus 2,000 power with ace's leader effect. But Bonney going to go down to 1. And so that is going to put a 2K Hiyori in hand, not a Rush Bonney. But now Bonney drawing for a turn, does see a Blaze Slice, right? So has 2 of them in hand. They're nice for extra counter, but not exactly what you're looking for. It looks like this Bonney might be in a little bit of trouble, especially because you took that final life. The S-Snake now, because you have less than 2 life cards, the S-Snake cannot put something like Kiku Nojo back into your life. So what do you do at this point? Blaze Slice only resting a 4-cost or lower character, so cannot interact with these new gates, especially when you don't have a lot of blockers. You don't turn your card sideways now. Those guys are coming in and swinging. You see 3 12,000 power characters on the other side of the field. Seems like the time is now for Bonney to try to win this game. And you honestly don't really feel too good about it either. You only need 1 swing to connect right at this point. But with 3 new gates on the field, filtering, drawing raw cards, and plenty of searches in the GARPs, in the EZOs, right, to be able to find exactly what you need, you feel like this Ace's hand is probably pretty solid. So Bonney, starting out with a 10,000 power swing, is just going to be a leader effect on the new gate, and then 2K, 1K to get out of the swing, pushing Bonney to 8, and then 2K, 1K bringing you up to 9,000 power on the 8,000 power swing. And so now attaching 1 Dawn, swinging 8,000 power with the S-Snake. Could counter out of this now. Still could potentially be a 9-cost Bonney that comes in, so do have to think about that. But the 2K getting out of that attack, going to 10,000 power, is pretty much going to spell doom for this Bonney, right? Unless there's some sort of unblockable event, which I don't think there is in the Bonney deck. Bonney just going to swing 6 to start out, 8 Dawn left. So maybe thinking about a potential rush card that could play down that's not the 9-cost Bonney. Just got a 2K to get out of that one. 1 card in hand, and it's Roger. So Bonney now tapping 2. Looks like it's going to be Hiyori. Try to look at this life and replace it, in a sense, with maybe an impactful trigger. Did not see what they put in. I think it was the 0-cost event, actually. So is going to go for a 0-cost event play. And so with the 4, is going to go ahead and play the Kiku Nojo. Not a card that you can really utilize in the hand right now. I think also did not attach the Dawn anywhere, but I don't think it really matters, because you want to leave the 2 up for the Blaze Slice. And so now with the Goldie, Roger coming down 13,000 power. One of the biggest characters in the game is going to start out with a 13,000 power swing. Is going to go ahead and get this 0-cost event. The 0-cost event is going to be able to put up a life. You got to pitch 1 card in hand, is going to be the S-Snake. The new gate now swinging 12,000 power. You know the numbers that the ace is going to swing, right? 12, 12, 12, 7, and 6 for the rest of this turn. It's a matter of, though, can you do it? Is it another 0-cost? It's not just a 2K. The 12,000 power swing. Here we go. We got Blaze Slice going up to 7. Another Blaze Slice going up to 9. And then 3 2Ks to be able to get out of that swing. But the final new gate swing ends up getting the win. Jozu being very impactful in that matchup, right? Controlling the board, especially in the early game, to get that Kiku Nojo off the field, right? Was one less swing that he had to deal with when he did not have really any counter in hand, right? Really showing the impact of the removal potential in Ace before they start playing out all of their 10-drop new games. Still a great game by Bonney. Still had some really cool stuff within that list, especially that 5-cost Zoro I thought was really, really interesting, right? A very cool card. But that Ace player, right, as we saw, undefeated in this tournament so far, 10-0 in the games, including Swiss round, right? 9 rounds of Swiss, 1 round of Top Cut. Was playing Edward Weevil from EB01. Definitely an interesting card. And if you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, for the YouTube live chat, and Twitch live chat, you guys are still stuck with me if you're hanging out. But if you're watching this as the regular YouTube video, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I will get the other rounds up later on YouTube. Hope to see you in the next one. Dang it, I'm so awkward.